Guess what I get to do today? Today we get to do a video that I put off for a long time because, let's face it, I don't know anything about these franchises. So as some of you may know, I've already made videos fixing the Smash Bros roster as it is an Ultimate. But today it's finally time to actually finish the job. This is a video I've put off writing or making for a couple of reasons. Number one, these videos take time and effort to cut down. Two, I don't know anything about Fire Emblem or Pokemon except for how they play in Smash. And when you take a look at who's left on my roster to fix, it's all Pokemon and Fire Emblem. But I really wanted to finish the series, and I do have some other characters I still have to fix. So it won't just be all Pokemon and Fire Emblem, thankfully for me, and for probably you watching as a Fire Emblem fan or Pokemon fan. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. So let's go ahead and get into the stragglers from the last couple of videos I've made on this topic. Let's talk about Star Fox. Fox, Falco, and Wolf are primarily shown in their games and their vehicles. And a lot of their moves, aka Fox's moves, are all mainly made up for Smash. So how would I improve their movesets? Well, first of all, they just need to be diversified a little bit more. They do a better job of that in Ultimate as opposed to previous Smash games. My first idea was giving them all abilities from Star Fox Assault, a game where you can actually play as those characters and not just the vehicles that they're in. Fox uses some machine guns, blasters, bombs, and those weapons could all be incorporated into any of these three characters' movesets, since they all borrow quite a bit from Fox's main moveset. But that's not the main thing that I want to see changed for the Star Fox characters in the next Smash Bros. Game. All the Star Fox characters in Smash technically use moves and abilities that their whole team should have access to. So why don't we get some peppy hair alts for Fox, some slippy alts for Falco, and Wolf can get some alts for either one of these guys. Obviously some aerials and tilts would probably have to be changed, not for like specific alts or anything, but just in general for the next game for this skin idea to even work. But I think it would represent the Star Fox series a little bit better, and you would have access technically to quite a few more characters. Also, this might be a hot take, but I kind of missed the Landmaster. I get why the Final Smash was changed, being the Ultimate changed a whole lot about how Final Smashes work, but I think the Landmaster needs to make a comeback, just not in the same way. Call this crazy or chaotic in the comments, but I don't care. I want a meter that slowly fills up throughout the game, and when the meter is filled up, the Landmaster is summoned. Obviously, it might need to be reworked and resized to be balanced at all. And this would be a temporary attack option. It would probably last for 15 to 20 seconds. So it's just a scaled down temporary Landmaster. And maybe it's OP, maybe it's broken, but it sounds really fun. Now we're going to move on to some characters that had to be changed going into Smash Wii U from Smash Bros. Brawl. Characters that were separated from the main character they were supposed to be attached to, and that is Zero Suit Samus and Sheik. And I really don't have much to say for these guys, other than I want them to be rejoined with their original characters that they were removed from in Smash 4. I know that people like playing with these characters individually, and I understand that, but maybe there could be an option to play with these characters by themselves or reattached to their original characters. There would obviously have to be some changes from how it worked in Brawl. Obviously, I don't think that you should only be able to use Zero Suit once you've used Samus's Final Smash, being that most Smash Bros played, at least in a competitive setting, are done with Final Smashes off. So I don't know how that would work. So there needs to be some other mechanic of switching to Zero Suit, so you have to switch to Zero Suit to get normal Samus back. Maybe a mechanic where her power suit's energy gets drained, so you have to switch to Zero Suit Samus as a default, but I don't know exactly what would have worked best. Please leave your best ideas in the comments, because I'm not exactly sure how that would work. And Sheik obviously would just go back to being Zelda's down B, which sucks because I really like Zelda's current down B, so maybe we could make it to where they switch if you hold shield and B. That way you can switch and still have the moves that they currently have in Smash Ultimate. They just need to make sure that one of them is not broken and the other one sucks, like how it was in Melee, because that was a whole mess. People would only pick Zelda to down B immediately and switch to Sheik. So if they get rejoined in this next game, they need to be pretty balanced for that to work. For Mega Man, I don't have much on him. I honestly think he's a well-designed character and doesn't need a whole lot of changes. Maybe just some different alts. Maybe give him Mega Man X as an alt, or a Proto Man based alt, or a based alt. There's a lot more you can do with Mega Man's alts than I think Ultimate does, so that's the main complaint I have with him. But other than that, I think he's a pretty well-designed character and doesn't really need a whole lot of changes. Palutena could get some of her canned custom moves from Smash 4. Some examples of that being Heavenly Light, Super Speed, Rocket Jump, and Angelic Missile. Inkling's interesting because they're obviously a very new character, and I think they're pretty well designed. And I think if we get new weapons from the newer Splatoon games, they're going to be in a form of a Octoling moveset or a second Splatoon Reps moveset. But if not, it would be cool to see some weapons from Splatoon 3, as well as some Octoling alts. Use weapons like the Splatter Scope, the Splatbrella, the Splatinus Stamper. I really love the Splatoon's developers' commitment to the bit of naming weapons and having most of them start with Splat. But really, any unused Splatoon weapon from the Splatoon games could be incorporated in their moveset. Those are just some of the ones I thought of. Now we're on to Xenoblade. Pyra and Mithra. They are two of the newest characters in Smash, so I don't want to change a whole lot. However, there are some things that could be added in the next game to even more improve their moveset. I think adding Rex to some Smash attacks would also be cool, being that he's already in their final Smashes. It would be cool to also see him in the background cheering on Pyra and Mithra. Also, I know they both have separate final Smashes, but I thought it'd be cool to have a third one where they're both together. So it'd be kind of a mix of racking up damage, and then Pyra comes in for the KO. My Xenoblade playing roommate also suggested a Numa final Smash, or Numa being in their final Smash, so that could also be an option. Ulk also has a very well-designed moveset. They did upgrade it from Smash 4 to Ultimate, making it to where you could switch the Manana arts in kind of a wheel instead of just cycling through them. So any quality of life change like that could be made in the next game. I don't know what that would be. I don't play Shulk. But anything like that, really, anything else, I don't think he really needs it. He's a pretty well-designed character. Maybe just give him his updated look in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and that's really it. That's really all you need to do. And now for the part I've been dreading. Let's start with Pokemon, and let's start with some easy changes. Every Pokemon here needs to have a shiny alt. Pokemon fans have been asking for that forever. To have actual shiny alts as alternate costumes in Smash Bros. So hopefully we can get at least some in this next game. That'd be cool. So I'm going to be real with you here. I don't know a lot about Pokemon, and I didn't want to go taking other people's ideas and passing them off my own, or just using other people's ideas and saying, oh, they had a good idea, check this out. So I tried to think of one on my own without knowing a whole lot about Pokemon. So I had an idea, and if you don't like this idea, I'm very sorry. Hear me out on this one. Pokemon in Pokemon evolve. So I thought it'd be a cool idea for each Pokemon to be able to evolve mid-match. Whether that's some Pokemon changing into their fully evolved versions on the third stock, or maybe there's a meter that has to be filled up and they can evolve for a limited time and then go back to their default Pokemon. Or maybe there's one character that can evolve from the base level version. You have Charizard's Charmander, can evolve over the match based on racking up damage or something like that into Charizard. Then you get to Charizard and you're evolving. Then you get to Charizard and you're racking up damage with Charizard. And then you evolve to his final evolution. Editor Jaren here. I didn't realize that Charizard wasn't the fully evolved version of Charmander, so just ignore that. Something like that, either a new character like that, or maybe going back and changing some of these characters to do that in this next game would be really cool. I know we have Pokemon Trainer who you can freely switch between 3 different types of Pokemon, and all of those Pokemon are in different evolution levels. Some of those Pokemon either switching to their fully evolved versions or maybe evolving as the match goes on. I think that's a pretty cool idea, either for all of these Pokemon characters or at least one of them. I know I'm not harping on a specific Pokemon or a specific character that could use that. It's just an idea I had. I'm sure there's a whole lot of moves that just don't get used in Smash Bros. When it comes to Pokemon. So please, if you play Pokemon, please leave a change you would make to your favorite Pokemon in Smash in the comments, because I just had this one idea really for Pokemon, because I do not play Pokemon. I've said that probably 10 times in this video, and I'm stalling, and now I have to get to... The main problem I have with Fire Emblem is there's a lot of characters that play exactly the same or way too similar. There's a good 4 in the game that have basically the same moveset. I know Chrom has a different up B, Lucina doesn't have tippers and Marth does, and Roy's got fiery effects and isn't good in the air as Marth, and there's obviously differences, but it's very obvious. Roy was designed after Marth, and then Roy wasn't in Smash 4, so Lucina was designed after Marth. And then Chrom was designed after Roy when he came back from Smash 4. Like, it's very obvious. They have very similar and basically the same moves in some cases, like some of their aerials and stuff. They may have different properties, but they're essentially the same move, the same animation. I think that's the problem. That's why people kind of hated on the Fire Emblem characters that came out. There's some really unique characters like Robin, like Corrin, unfortunately. That's unfortunately a point I'm making right now. And also Byleth, that all play very uniquely and have cool movesets. And also Ike, by the way. Ike didn't do anything wrong. Ike also has a pretty unique moveset and a pretty cool moveset, so... But I honestly think Fire Emblem wouldn't be that hated in Smash if every character had a unique moveset and there wasn't 15 of them. So that being said, how do you change that? How do you fix that? Honestly, I think that Lucina could be a costume for Marth, that Chrom could be a costume for Marth, and that Roy could probably be a costume for Marth. And if you're not going to do that, you need to give them at least different special moves. Like, I know Roy has a different neutral B from Marth, and that's fine, but the side B is the same, the down B is the same, the up B is essentially very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. I think giving them different effects on tilts and aerials and stuff like that is fine, but I think the specials at least need to be somewhat different, at least a different animation. I don't play Fire Emblem, I don't know what that could be. I don't know, maybe Marth and Roy are very similar in Fire Emblem. I honestly have no idea. But in a fighting game, you need to have uniqueness. It's okay to have some similarity where it makes sense, like Villager and Isabelle, or Mario and Luigi. But when it comes to all these characters that a lot of American audiences aren't as familiar with, you really need to make them unique, and you really need to make them different from one another. Otherwise, they're just going to say, oh, it's a Fire Emblem character, so they all play the same. And that kind of discredits the work you did on Byleth and Corrin and Robin and Ike. So really, what I want to see is those characters be changed, be different, be unique. That's all I really want. I think that's all that Smash fans really want from that. It doesn't have to be like a completely different character. It just needs to be different. And I think that's the main problem with Fire Emblem and Smash. I think part of me dreading this video was me dreading going through every single Fire Emblem character and every single Pokemon to give them new moves and attacks and stuff. But really, it's more of a premise thing with Fire Emblem characters, and with Pokemon, I think I have a couple ideas, but I don't know what exactly you could do with Pokemon and Smash, and that's where you guys come in. Please let me know what you would do with Pokemon and Smash and what you would do with Fire Emblem and Smash, because I don't know squat about either of them. Also, here's a list of characters in the last video I made of this series who I said didn't need to be changed and didn't need to be fixed. I'm going to put them on the screen right now. Tell me what you would do to change these characters. I would really like to know, because there's a lot of characters I didn't have ideas for, or just couldn't think of a reason why they needed to be changed because I thought their moveset was already pretty solid. So please let me know. Mega Man 2, let me know any of those characters, if they can be changed, how you would change them in the comments below. But we are finally finished. Obviously, I didn't get to cover as much characters in detail as some of the characters I was most familiar with, but I tried my best, and I'm leaving the rest up to you guys. If you guys want to suggest any kinds of changes, please let me know. If I get enough comments, I probably will go ahead and make a video going over all of the different suggestions from you guys and reading them over and putting them out on this channel for other people to see your ideas. So I would be totally down. Please, even the characters that I've covered so far, please leave your suggestions in the comments. I would love to make a video that just puts all of your guys' ideas out there. That'd be so much fun. We did finally get through every single character in Smash Ultimate, and we fixed them. Very excited to move on and possibly fix other parts of Smash Bros. So thank you guys for watching so much, and I will see you guys next time. Before I go, just remember, Goku will never be in Smash.